When you look at the raw data across the hospitality sector, only 24% of hotels are actually operating with fully integrated core systems.
Wait, only 24%?
Just 24. That means the vast majority of hotels you stay in are running on this highly chaotic, Frankenstein-style patchwork of software.
Which is wild to think about. You walk into this beautiful, pristine lobby, but behind the desk, they've got like one totally separate system for property management, the PMS. Then they have another completely disconnected software for their booking engine, another one for channel management just to deal with, Expedia and Booking.com, another system handling their revenue, a totally different physical terminal for processing your credit card payments, and then like a separate CRM just trying to remember if you like extra pillows.
Exactly. And the compounding effect of that fragmentation has a staggering measurable cost. Almost half of all hotel operators are actively running 2 to 4 completely separate systems simultaneously.
That's exhausting just to think about.
It is. And a full 25% are juggling 5 or more.
Wow.
The physical act of a human being constantly switching between these disconnected applications, logging in, logging out, trying to find the right tab, it causes hotels to lose between 322 and 470 hours every single year.
Just in transition time.
Just switching screens.
Literally hundreds of hours just evaporating into the space between browser tabs.
Yeah, and it gets worse when you look at the data entry side of things.
Oh, I bet.
Nearly 35% of hospitality employees are spending 6 to 9 hours a week simply rekeying payment and reservation data.
Wait, 6 to 9 hours a week?
Every single week.
That is an entire workday dedicated solely to manual data entry. To put that in perspective, that is the modern equivalent of manually copying a phone book by hand because your brand new smartphone refuses to sync your contacts.
That's a great way to put it.
I mean, I have to wonder, if we know these systems don't talk to each other and we know they cause this much friction, why do smart general managers keep buying them?
Well, this raises an important question, and it gets to the very heart of how business technology actually evolved over the last 2 decades.
Right.
The fragmentation wasn't intentional. It's a historical legacy. 15 years ago, hotels couldn't find one single software provider that did everything well.
Okay, that makes sense.
So they bought the best reservation system they could find on the market. Then a few years later, the internet exploded, and they desperately needed to sell rooms online, so they bolted on a separate booking engine from a different company.
Ah, I see.
Then they needed a separate payment gateway. So instead of building an ecosystem designed around the natural flow of how a hotel actually operates, the industry was forced to adapt its physical daily workflows to fit the rigid, often clumsy constraints of a dozen different software vendors.
Which means when the software fundamentally refuses to connect, the human being has to physically become the bridge between them.
Precisely. The staff member basically becomes a very slow, very stressed out manual API.
Oh, man.
They're staring at one monitor, reading a guest's name, and then manually typing that exact same name into 3 different screens.
It's just brutal.
And beyond just the lost time, this creates incredibly dangerous data silos. Think about the cascade effect. If the front desk system doesn't instantly and automatically update the housekeeping system...
Oh, right, because they're totally separate.
Exactly. So someone has to pick up a radio, make a phone call, or send a WhatsApp message just to figure out if a room is actually clean.
Which is just more friction.
Right. In fact, 60% of hoteliers openly admit that unreliable or incomplete data slows down their daily decision-making. They simply can't trust the screen in front of them.
Because it might be out of date.
Exactly. So they hesitate, they double-check, they send another text message, and they lose even more time.
It just traps them in a totally reactive state. They're always putting out fires instead of preventing them.
Yep.
So if the root cause of this massive time poverty is the patchwork tech stack, the only logical way forward is to stop adding patches.
Right. You have to rip it out.
Right, rip it out and build a unified ecosystem from the ground up. So how does an all-in-one platform like RoomMaster fundamentally change those mechanics in the back office?
It changes the mechanics by centralizing every single core function into one single database. So everything from the initial reservation to the housekeeping schedule to maintenance requests, accounting, daily reporting, it all lives in the exact same place.
Wow.
And you see the most dramatic, immediate impact in how they handle payments.
Oh, let's look closely at that payment mechanism, because that seems to be a massive friction point for anyone running a business.
Historically, the payment process in a hotel is highly disjointed. You, the guest, walk up and swipe your credit card on a physical terminal.
Right.
That terminal talks to a bank, gets an approval code, and displays it. Then the front desk agent has to look at that tiny screen and manually type that 16-digit approval code into their reservation system.
Wait, manually type the approval code?
Yes. And if their finger slips or they transpose a number, the payment might not reconcile properly at the end of the night.
Which leads to absolute accounting chaos.
Complete chaos.
Yeah.
But with a system like Roommaster's Revenue and Finance Suite, the payment processing is completely native to the platform itself.
Meaning they're the same system.
Right. The terminal and the reservation system are the same brain. By integrating it directly, there is absolutely zero system switching. The system automatically reconciles those payments in the background.
That's huge.
It is. That invisible handshake saves the staff 4 to 6 hours of frustrating accounting work every single week. And even more importantly, because the data is perfectly synced without any human typos, it reduces the hotel's financial losses from chargebacks by up to 40%.
40%. That's incredible. You know, here's where it gets really interesting. Think about how you experience a modern rideshare app today.
Okay.
When you arrive at your destination and get out of the car, you don't, pull out your physical wallet, swipe a card, wait for a dot matrix receipt to print, and sign it.
No, you just leave.
Exactly. The transaction happens entirely invisibly in the background. The trust is just built into the ecosystem. What you're describing sounds like Roommaster is bringing that exact kind of invisible, frictionless transaction to the hotel lobby. Is this just about saving time, or does this fundamentally change what a hotel employee's actual job is?
It's the latter. It creates a profound shift in their actual job description. It fundamentally shifts their role from being data entry clerks to being true hospitality providers.
I love that.
Right. If a computer is handling the reconciliation and the authorization codes, the human error drops to absolute zero.
Yeah.
And that human being behind the desk is suddenly freed up to actually look you in the eye, ask about your flight, and welcome you to the city.
And I imagine that same compounding time savings applies to how the hotel understands its own business metrics, too.
Exactly.
Right, the reporting. Because when everything lives in one system, you aren't pulling your hair out exporting 5 different spreadsheets from 5 different apps and trying to duct tape them together in Excel just to figure out if you made money yesterday.
Which is what they used to do.
Right. But when you look under the hood of Roommaster, you suddenly have access to over 270 built-in real-time reports.
That's a lot of data.
It is. Access to that unified data allows 17% of hoteliers to save over 10 hours a week.
Wow.
Yeah, that is more than 500 hours a year given back to management just by having a single source of truth.
And that single source of truth completely changes how they actually sell the physical rooms to the public as well.
How so?
Well, the platform has a built-in booking engine and channel manager that synchronize instantly. So imagine a hotel has exactly one suite left.
Okay.
The second that suite is booked by someone on Expedia, it instantly and automatically drops off the hotel's own website.
Oh, so there's no double booking?
Exactly. There's no human being rushing to manually update the inventory. Hotels utilizing this mechanism see a massive 15 to 30% shift away from those expensive online travel agencies directly back to bookings on their own websites.
Which drastically improves their profit margins, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
And managing that at scale is where the unified system becomes make or break. Take Hoteles Vista Group in Puerto Rico.
Right.
They're managing nearly 300 rooms across 4 completely different all-inclusive properties.
Yeah.
If you try to manage 4 all-inclusive resorts with disconnected tech, where the restaurant doesn't talk to the front desk and the front desk doesn't talk to housekeeping.
It's a guaranteed disaster.
Total disaster. But they manage that massive footprint from a single source of truth.
It's the only way to scale without adding an army of administrative staff.
But, having perfect data in the back office doesn't mean much to you, the guest, if the physical lobby still looks like a chaotic DMV at rush hour.
That is very true.
We have to look at how unifying this technology actually clears out the bottlenecks in the physical space, because the front desk is where this time poverty impacts the guest experience the most.
The front desk is the ultimate proving ground for a hotel's operations. Think about your own experiences. The peak arrival time, usually around 4 p.m., is traditionally a massive source of stress. You have a lobby full of tired travelers who just want to get to their rooms, and you have staff furiously typing on keyboards trying to process everyone.
Exactly. And Roommaster tackles this physical bottleneck with 2 highly specific tools, the guest app and the AI concierge. Let's look at the app first, because the mechanism here is brilliant.
Yeah, it really is.
It takes all of those routine, highly administrative tasks that used to clog up the front desk and pushes them directly to the supercomputer already sitting in your pocket, your smartphone.
Right. It empowers the guest to handle their own logistics. You can complete a mobile check-in before you even arrive at the property.
Which is so nice.
It is. You get a digital room key sent straight to your phone. You can request extra towels or room service directly through the app. It systematically removes the absolute necessity of standing in that peak time queue.
Which is a win for you as the guest, but it's an even bigger win for the staff, because every single guest who happily bypasses the physical desk is giving valuable time back to the staff to help the guests who actually have complex problems that require a human touch.
Exactly.
But the queue of people in the lobby is only half the problem. The staff is also fighting a constant, invisible battle, the ringing phone.
Ugh. The ringing front desk phone is the absolute enemy of a smooth workflow. You're right in the middle of helping a guest, and suddenly you have to apologize, pick up the receiver, put someone on hold, and totally break your concentration.
This is where the AI concierge enters the picture, and the way this works is fascinating. It acts as a 24/7 multilingual voice assistant. But here is the critical mechanism. It is not just a generic standalone chatbot giving generic answers.
Right, it's not just reading an FAQ.
Exactly. It's physically integrated directly into the PMS database.
And that integration is the key differentiator. Because it's tied directly to the central brain of the hotel, it can actually see the live inventory. Yeah. It knows that room 204 just opened up 3 seconds ago, and it knows exactly what the current rate is. So when a potential guest calls to ask if you have anything available for the weekend, the AI doesn't just answer the question. It actively captures that booking intent and secures the reservation.
All without a human staff member ever having to pick up the receiver.
Exactly.
The financial impact of that is incredible. The Flamingo Motel actually deployed this exact AI concierge to handle their overflow calls.
Okay.
By simply having the AI answer the phone when the front desk was too busy, they turned missed calls into $38,000 in additional revenue. $38,000. Just from capturing the business that previously would have hung up out of frustration.
That makes perfect sense.
But wait, hold on. Let me push back on this for a second.
Sure.
If we are actively pushing check-ins to a smartphone app and we're outsourcing phone calls to an AI voice, aren't we just killing the hospitality part of hospitality? Doesn't automating all of this make a hotel feel incredibly cold and transactional?
I get that concern. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, we find that the exact opposite is true.
Really?
Yeah. I want you to really think about your last traditional hotel check-in experience. You walked up to the desk. The person standing there barely made eye contact with you because they were furiously staring at a monitor.
Yeah, that's true.
They were frantically clicking a mouse, manually typing your credit card number, and constantly apologizing for a ringing phone that they had to put on hold.
Yeah.
That interaction is not genuine hospitality. That is a hostage situation with a keyboard.
Okay, a hostage situation with a keyboard is painfully accurate. I've definitely been that hostage.
We all have. By entirely removing the mountains of paperwork, the manual data entry, and the incessantly ringing phones from the front desk, you're finally allowing the human staff to focus 100% of their energy on genuine connection.
Oh, I see. They finally have the mental bandwidth to actually listen to you, solve a complex problem, recommend a phenomenal local restaurant, or notice that it's your anniversary and offer a room upgrade. You aren't removing the human element with this technology. You're finally liberating the humans to actually act like humans.
That completely flips the script. You're automating the robotic tasks so the humans don't have to act like robots.
Exactly.
Okay, so the front desk is breathing easier. The chaos is gone. Routine tasks are handled automatically. So what does this all mean for the management team? What do they do with all this reclaimed time?
Well,
they can finally shift their focus from just surviving the day to proactive revenue generation. And that brings us to a massive tool, the Amplify Revenue Management System, or RMS.
This is where saving time translates directly dollar for dollar into increased profit. Yield management is traditionally a highly complex, deeply manual process.
Right. Let's explain how yield management actually works. Say a massive artist, like, I don't know, Taylor Swift, suddenly announces a surprise concert in your city.
Okay, huge demand spike. Exactly. Historically, a human revenue manager would have to manually monitor the news, notice the sudden spike in hotel searches, physically log into their channel manager, and manually raise the price of their remaining rooms across Expedia, Booking.com, and their own website.
And by the time that human being actually notices the trend and logs in, they might have already accidentally sold out half of their remaining inventory at the lower standard Tuesday night rate.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they literally lose thousands of dollars because they couldn't type fast enough.
But the Amplify RMS completely eliminates those manual rate updates. The system continuously automatically monitors occupancy levels, market demand, and even competitor pricing.
It's all automated.
It's like having a tireless, incredibly caffeinated Wall Street day trader living permanently inside the hotel's server.
I love that analogy.
It's constantly analyzing the data and automatically yielding optimal pricing across every single channel 24/7 while the general manager is sound asleep.
Exactly. It moved the entire business model from a state of anxious reaction to a state of strategic proaction. The system instantly captures that sudden Taylor Swift revenue spike without a human ever having to touch a keyboard.
Amazing.
And once you've secured those guests at the optimal price, you have to engage them to keep them coming back.
Which is why the guest communication suite comes in. It completely automates personalized pre-arrival, in-stay, and post-stay messaging. But because it's pulling directly from that unified single source of truth we keep talking about, the messages are actually highly relevant to your specific stay.
Right, it's not just generic spam.
Exactly. It knows you booked a spa package, so it sends you spa information. Because of that hyper-relevance, hotels utilizing this suite are seeing up to a 30% increase in repeat bookings, and they are literally doubling their review response rates.
You can see the culmination of all these integrated tools working in harmony when you look at an operation like the Riley Hotel Group.
Oh yeah, tell me about them.
They're managing 17 different properties with over 400 associates.
That's massive.
It is. Their Vice President of Operations, Lisa Ziefer, specifically credits the seamless integration of the Room Master booking engine for keeping their massive room inventories in perfect balance.
I can imagine.
When you're managing an operation at that scale, rapid, unexpected operational changes can cause a total systemic failure if your technology is fragmented. But because their ecosystem was unified, they maintained total control and saved massive amounts of time, even during significant disruptions.
It's the difference between flying a plane with a modern dashboard versus trying to fly it by looking at 50 different loose gauges rolling around on the floor.
Exactly.
So let's distill this journey down. Time poverty is a silent, creeping killer. It destroys profit margins. And just as importantly, it completely destroys staff morale in the hospitality industry.
It really does.
It forces intelligent people to suffer death by 1,000 clicks, endless manual rekeying, and brutal context switching. But by fundamentally replacing that chaotic patchwork of disconnected software with a truly unified, all-in-one ecosystem like Room Master, hoteliers are completely eliminating that operational friction.
Yep.
They're reclaiming, literally, hundreds of hours of stolen time, drastically reducing human error, and unlocking entirely new revenue streams through AI and automated pricing.
And this brings us right back to why this specific deep dive is so critical for you, even if you have absolutely nothing to do with running a hotel.
Right.
This entire exploration is a powerful, urgent reminder to audit your own daily workflows. Where is the hidden friction in your day? Where are you losing hours of your life to context switching?
Yeah, what critical data are you manually copying and pasting from one piece of software to another simply because the two systems fiercely refuse to speak to each other?
That is the exact takeaway. Find your own personal rekeying bottlenecks. Find out where you're acting as a human USB cable and figure out how to automate or integrate those tasks.
Right. And as you examine your own friction points, consider this final thought. If AI, voice assistants, automated pricing algorithms, and fully integrated platforms successfully give hospitality workers all of their stolen time back, what happens to the broader economy when every single industry completely eliminates routine data entry?
Oh, that's a big question.
Will we see a beautiful global renaissance of high-touch, highly empathetic human-to-human service simply because we finally have the free time to provide it? Or will businesses look at that newfound efficiency and simply choose to run those exact same operations with much smaller automated teams?
Wow.
It's no longer just a question about better software. It's a profound question about the very future of human work. Are we building these unified tools to make our human jobs richer and more meaningful? Or are we building them to make those jobs entirely disappear? That is an incredibly provocative question and something for you to absolutely mull over this week as you look closely at the software you use every single day. Keep questioning the friction, hunt down those hidden hours, and remember, if you find yourself sprinting around the stage handing out sheet music, it is probably time to change your system. We will catch you on the next one.